Hello fellow chateau lovers and welcome to Lalande's kitchen. I was thinking that it would be nice to show you before and after photos of the renovation at Lalande because so many have asked about that, and I thought what better room to start in than the kitchen, because I originally considered maybe I could just take you around the whole chateau and talk about all of the renovations, but that would take a couple of hours and it would actually take quite a lot of tidying to get the whole chateau ready for that in one go. So I figured, let's show you one room at a time. And I'm starting with the room that those of you who watch my Thursday vlog will know the best, the kitchen. If I'm honest, people have been asking me to show them a tour of the chateau and before and after transformations for a really long time. And I've been putting it off because I don't feel like anything's finished yet or at a state that I can show it yet, because I have this vision in my mind of what I want each of the rooms at Lalande to look like, and even after 14 years I'm not quite there yet. But I've told myself I have to breathe deeply and just share Lalande as it is, not as I want it to be in the future. So this is the state of the house as it is now. So just bear in mind, it's a work in progress. There's so much that still needs to be done. But at this moment in time, this is what the kitchen looks like. This is what we live with on a daily basis. And I'll show you the transformation between what it was before and what it is now. We bought the Chateau de Lalande in 2005. So this October we'll have been here for 14 years, which is crazy. The time has just flown past. And pretty much the first room that we tackled was the kitchen because we knew we needed to spend all of our time in here. There were only some 1970s units and Formica tops. That was it. It wasn't very chateau-y. It wasn't very grand at all. And it just didn't feel warm and homely. The walls were a mustard varnish and the ceilings, the whole place was like just being in this tobacco-stained box. But as you can see, then as well as now, we spent all of our time in the kitchen, even during the renovation. This photo was taken when we're at the halfway mark and we're about to start insulating the walls, and I'm in the kitchen with my mother and my father. We were really lucky because there is a beautiful original range cooker. When we first moved in, it was the only way of both heating the room and cooking. Whenever we lit it, it smoked the entire chateau out. We had to put more wood in every hour and a half to keep the fire going in it. To put it in perspective, it was -10 degrees centigrade in our downstairs corridor. It was the coldest winter imaginable. I had imagined coming to this chateau and having a wonderfully glamorous life of a chatelaine, and actually it was just ski gear every single day, and honestly most of the night as well. Literally eating in this room whilst wearing ski gloves and hats because it was so cold all the time. But at the same time, it did make me fall in love with that range cooker, which was the only source of warmth in the house. And I don't care if there are other more practical solutions that could take up the enormous amount of space that it is taking up. I would never ever get rid of it. It's just part of the original charm of this home. It's an Atelier Briffaut range cooker. They were considered extremely chic in their day. They were the forerunners of La Cornue and Aga. Here's one of their original adverts saying that they've won 3 gold medals at the Universal Exhibition of Paris in 1900, and that they've been installed in chateaus and restaurants and hotels all over the world, including the Grosvenor Hotel in London and the Riviera Palace in Monte Carlo. There's certainly one still visible today in the castle of De Haar in Utrecht. But most excitingly for me, Monet chose an Atelier Briffaut cooker for his kitchen at Giverny. And as any of you who saw my vlog number 72 will know, he was very into his food. So it was a big investment in its day when it was purchased for this home, which shows just how seriously they took cooking. Nowadays we only fire it up at Christmas, and the rest of the time it's generally covered with vast amounts of bread. I splashed out on our new oven because I wanted something that we'd never have to replace, something that I wouldn't regret the purchase of in the future, and something that was in the same spirit of the style of our range cooker. So I chose a La Cornue, which is a wonderful French company who make extraordinary range cookers, and they're working in the French tradition, so you can see that aesthetically they're part of the same lineage, and I think that the two marry really, really well together. But having splashed out on that, everything else had to be done on a super tight budget. So I started by trying to use what we had and hunting around the chateau and the outbuildings to see what I could use to decorate the kitchen. Inside one of the outbuildings, I found this amazing old cupboard. It was practically falling apart, but it was beautiful. I brought that in, and I had an old porcelain sink that we'd brought over from England with us. I had that fitted into the top because there was no sink in the kitchen. There were only sinks in the arrière-cuisine that you can just see behind me there. There are 2 butler's sinks there, but it's really useful to have water in the kitchen as well.
Now finally we have a spot in the kitchen where we can wash the vegetables that come in from the garden. These are our lovely pink and purple potatoes. The arrière-cuisine is still the area where we do all of the washing up. The dishwashers are in there too, and the only real change that we've made is to add lots of shelving because we just have so many cooking pots and pans.
Then behind me, you can see the big display cabinet with all of the blue and white Spode porcelain. The bottom of that is just the old 1970s wall units that used to be here. And one day I will get around to replacing the doors with beautiful panel doors, but that still hasn't happened in 14 years. We just painted it, and we found the top of an old dresser lying around in the garage. So we just sat the top over the wall units and added some shelves, and since then we've had a dresser at no cost, so that was fantastic. And the huge cupboard in the kitchen that we use every day comes from the old laundry room of the chateau. I painted the side of it with blackboard paint, and that's been one of the best things we did in this room because now we write our shopping lists, and as you can see at the moment it's being used for something extremely important.
It's a scoreboard.
Throughout the chateau, I've tried as much as possible to keep reusing things because you A, clear the things that you have, and B, manage to make new things on a budget, and you keep a sense of history and continuity, which is fantastic for a chateau. So the curtains in this room were originally the wall coverings in my bedroom of the chateau, which was the bedroom of the Countess. The walls were covered with this absolutely stunning French blue and white fabric, and I loved it, but it was blackened from soot, and I had to take it off the walls and wash it, but it was so old that when I washed it, a lot of it disintegrated and I couldn't put it back on the walls. But I didn't want to waste it. What I had to be used in the chateau, and so I decided to carry on the kitchen's blue and white theme by turning those fragments of fabric into the kitchen curtains. And I've also made lots of napkins to match, so we have really pretty dinner parties here, and I'm using things that have been in the chateau for decades. One of the more recent additions is my spice rack, which I'm very proud of because it took me far too long. I had a lot of time on my hands a couple of winters ago, and so I decided to use some more of the bedroom fabric that I still had to make a spice rack because I was sick of opening the spice cupboard and spending 10 minutes trying to find the spice that I wanted before I could get on with my cooking, which happened every single day. So I designed a spice rack which I could actually label in alphabetical order, which worked brilliantly, and I love it. Only nobody else in the house will put the spices back in the right place. It's one of my bugbears, but I love the spice rack.
There was just one part of the room we didn't need to do anything to, and that was the floor. We have the original flagstone floor, and it's beautiful and incredibly practical.
My father and I were both completely obsessed with shopping in factory shops, and many years ago we went to Spode. I just bought the chateau, and my father felt that I was going to be needing quite a lot of plates, and I can't just go and buy them retail, it's not possible. And I was so lucky to go to Spode before it sadly closed. It's such a shame. I'm very happy that I had the opportunity to buy something that's such a strong part of English aesthetic manufacturing tradition. It's so beautiful, and I bought perhaps 30 or 40 plates that I'm still using now. Obviously we've had some breakages and I replace on eBay when things get broken. It's normal that things get broken. I'd far rather use things and break them than just have things behind glass to look at and not use and not enjoy on a daily basis. Which brings me to the little display cabinet over the sink. It's a little cupboard that I found in a tiny antique shop in Suffolk, and I use that to put my mother's Spode fleur de lis design, because she won't let anybody use that. She's not like me. She wants to just look at things and know that they're safe. So they go in there and everything else, everything on the cupboard behind me gets used every day, and that's how I like it. I can't live in a museum. There are two very, very important pieces of furniture in this room that I could not live without. The most important, by far, is the kitchen table. This was already at the chateau when we bought. It's very old. It's incredibly thick and solid, and we can barely move it. I don't think we could take it out even if we wanted to. I love it. You can tell that for centuries people have been laughing, bickering, planning, plotting together over this table, and nothing's changed. This is where everything still happens in this house. Dinner time is sacred. We all eat together. That's our time to come together, to discuss what's happened during the day, to talk about what's happening in the days to come, and to make sure that we feel really connected with each other, that we're not just strangers living in the same house together, but we're one big family. The chairs around the kitchen table are all the British chairs that my parents brought with them from their old house. So it's nice because I have memories of my childhood home here as well. And I like the fact that this home is very much a mixture of English and French. The table is the epicenter of the house, the second most important piece of furniture in this room, and definitely the most contentious is the chaise longue. Contentious because we all argue over who gets to sit in it, and that's usually me, lying there reading a book, looking through recipe books. I love it. But if my mother's here, I have no chance. I really don't think that I can eat this and chat to you at the same time, so as soon as I've turned this off, I'll be wolfing it down. But I hope you're at least able to sit down and have a snack and a cup of tea with me. One of the things that I love most about the kitchen is that it looks out onto both sides of the chateau. So we can see anybody arriving, we can see the fountain, the entrance courtyard, and then on the other side, we can just walk out into the garden easily, go to the chapel. It's really beautiful. It's very easy to get outside. So it feels as though it's an extension of the outdoors. It wasn't like that when we first moved in. There was no door outside from the kitchen. One of the best things we ever did at the chateau was putting these French doors in. It's made a huge difference to daily life. And like all of the rooms in the chateau, the kitchen is constantly evolving and is absolutely not finished. The main problem is that there's still no coving in this room. And I'm waiting because I want something really grand, far too big for the space. I don't want it to be kitcheny. I want it to feel like a really grand room in a chateau because we're here all the time. So we may as well make it beautiful and fun and a bit frivolous. So I'm waiting until I can actually get some amazing coving. And the chateau is not only the heart of kitchen life when it comes to eating and chatting together in the evenings, it's actually kind of the heart of chateau life for parties, because although we have planned parties quite often, by far most of the parties that we have in this house are completely impromptu, and it's just a dinner that turns into a dance party in the kitchen. And in spite of the fact that there's a huge table filling most of the room, we just dance around the table all evening. It's the heart of the house in every single way. So that's the history of Lalande's kitchen over the last 14 years. Please, in the comments, let me know what you would like me to tell you about in future, if there's any other rooms in the chateau that you would like me to tell you about, or if there's anything about this chateau or chateau life in general that you would like me to share with you. Don't hesitate to let me know and I'll make another video for you. If you've liked this, it would be fantastic if you could subscribe for more chateau life, and I will try and put a video like this out each Sunday. I hope you have a fantastic Sunday. See you next week.